Good morning. I'm Helen Morement, CEO of AMMF, and I'm delighted to welcome you to AMMF's 2021 conference. I'd dearly love to be welcoming you face to face, but as we know, the current circumstances the world finds itself in make that impossible. But we have an incredible number of high caliber speakers joining our virtual conference, and I'm really indebted to them, as I am to our truly inspirational patient presenters. I urge you not to miss them. For those of you who are new to AMMF, I'll give you a brief introduction to the charity and its work. When I founded AMMF in 2002, it was the world's first charity dedicated solely to cholangiocarcinoma, and today we remain the UK's and Europe's only cholangiocarcinoma charity. AMMF works closely throughout the UK with patients and their carers, healthcare professionals, researchers and policymakers, as well as actively collaborating across Europe, the USA, Southeast Asia, indeed globally. Despite lockdowns and other restrictions, our work has continued over the last year. AMMF's team has stepped up to the mark. We've dug deep, discovered resources we didn't know we had, and when faced with obstacles, we've found ways over, under, or around them. AMMF's work is totally cholangiocarcinoma focused, and improving the future for those with cholangiocarcinoma is at the heart of everything we do. To that end, we're actively involved with many other groups, both national and international, and these shown here are just a few. I review clinical trials patient information in the UK and Europe, and recently I've been actively involved with ESMO in the production of a patient guide to biliary tract cancers, and with the recently published Italian clinical practice guidelines for the diagnosis and treatment of cholangiocarcinoma. AMMF has always firmly believed that true collaboration is the way forward, and we collaborate globally wherever we can. We value the relationship we've built up over the years with the team working in Khon Kaen, northeast Thailand, and I'm especially honoured to be a member of the steering committee for the project Combating Cholangiocarcinoma in Lao PDR. Most of what I'm going to talk about now is cholangiocarcinoma as seen by AMMF, which might not always be quite as available data show. So very briefly then, what is cholangiocarcinoma? It's important to know that there are three anatomical variations: intrahepatic, when the cancer happens inside the ducts of the liver; hilar or perihilar, when the cancer happens at the confluence of the main ducts as they join together, leaving the liver and become the common bile duct, which then goes down to join the intestines; and extrahepatic or distal, when it happens anywhere along that common bile duct. We know it's the second most common primary liver cancer in the world. In 2017, it was the cause of death of 2,523 people in England alone, and this is from AMMF's ongoing data project. Fewer than 5% of inoperable patients will survive 1 year from diagnosis. Now that's a truly shocking statistic, and one that hasn't improved in decades. The incidence is increasing, and we don't know why, but this is happening globally. We see that the age of those affected is seemingly getting lower, and again, we don't know why. Most data show that, certainly in the West, this is a disease affecting older people, especially those over 65. However, at AMMF, we're seeing more and more young people being affected, which is incredibly worrying. These are just a few of the young people known to AMMF and now lost to cholangiocarcinoma. Their families have shown great generosity of spirit in allowing us to share their photos. And sadly, we could show you many more. Every life is precious, no matter what age the person is. But there's something particularly heartbreaking at seeing these vibrant young people all now lost to cholangiocarcinoma. These then are the major problems we face with this disease. It's difficult to diagnose clearly and accurately. Symptoms can be vague and non-specific and easily attributable to any number of other benign conditions. Most people are diagnosed too late for potentially curative surgery, and currently there's very little other treatment available to the inoperable patient. Chemotherapy, which may or may not help to prolong life by a few months, and for some patients, clinical trials. And whilst there are some known risk factors, in general, the cause in the West tends to be unknown. While survival rates are improving for most other cancers, the outlook for those diagnosed with cholangiocarcinoma hasn't improved in decades. We know cholangiocarcinoma is a major problem in Southeast Asia. Thailand, particularly the Northeast, is believed to have the world's highest incidence of this disease. And because the cause is known, eating raw river fish infested with liver fluke, this is potentially preventable. However, that's not the easy task it might sound, because eating the raw fish has many cultural implications. And, although I haven't tried it myself, apparently it tastes very good too. The Calangiocarcinoma Foundation of Thailand, and particularly the CASCAP team, are working towards a fluke-free Thailand, and their endeavours have also brought awareness of this problem to the West. Worryingly, we're beginning to learn that other Southeast Asian countries, such as Laos PDR, Cambodia, Myanmar, Vietnam, have a high prevalence of cholangiocarcinoma too. So this is potentially a problem of enormous proportions. And you're going to hear more about the work in Southeast Asia during the conference. So here's the question. This is a disease with an increasing incidence and one of the worst prognoses out there, something which hasn't changed in decades. There's a desperation to improve this situation. So why is there such a lack of awareness and so little interest in cholangiocarcinoma? We believe there's a possible answer. At AMMF, we've long felt that the lack of robust data to support what we believe is happening could be responsible for the lack of awareness and interest. Undoubtedly, robust data are essential to raise awareness, to drive policy, to encourage research funding, and so much more. But robust statistics for cholangiocarcinoma are difficult to come by. The terminology used can be confusing. Cholangiocarcinoma, bile duct cancer, biliary tract cancer, and the disease classifications within ICD-10 have led to confusion, as there's no code for hilar perihilar cholangiocarcinoma, considered by most experts to be the most commonly occurring kind. So it's impossible to record this correctly. And it's really not surprising then that data are misleading us. And of course, without supporting data, all that we see is just considered anecdote and opinion. And because that lack of data to show what we believe is happening, there's the neglect of many patients, and I'm speaking here about the West. There's a lack of awareness amongst medics from primary care up. Most receive a late diagnosis. There's no reliable biomarker to aid an early and accurate diagnosis. And that late diagnosis leads to many missing the window of opportunity for surgery. There's a lack of awareness of what treatments might be available. And molecular profiling is not yet generally available in the UK nor in Europe. And there's a lack of awareness of what clinical trials might be available. So if ever there were patients with unmet needs, it has to be those with cholangiocarcinoma. Well, what can we do to change this situation? There are three important areas we need to look at. We need improvement in data recording so that the data captured is more robust. AMMF is funding an ongoing data project here in the UK, which hopefully will help us work towards that. And you'll be hearing more about that project later on. We need recoding at an international level. As I've mentioned, the International Classification of Diseases, ICD-10, and indeed previous iterations, has no code at all for hilar or perihilar cholangiocarcinoma. And without a code, it's impossible to record this type of cholangiocarcinoma correctly. However, there's hopeful news on the horizon, because in the latest version, ICD-11, cholangiocarcinoma is coded in its three types, and there's now a specific code for perihilar cholangiocarcinoma. ICD-11 will be available from January 2022, and we need to encourage this to be adopted globally so more accurate data will start filtering through as quickly as possible. We need to raise awareness nationally and internationally. AMMF has always worked to raise awareness. One of the most important ways is our comprehensive website. This is accessed thousands of times a month from over 120 countries worldwide. In the UK, we now have Calangiocarcinoma UK, and this powerful multidisciplinary group of UK specialists is working to address the unmet needs of cholangiocarcinoma, and their wide-reaching aims should help create a far more equal playing field nationally for all those diagnosed with this cancer. And AMMF is closely involved with and supports this group wholeheartedly. In Europe, we have ENSCA, the European Network for the Study of Cholangiocarcinoma. AMMF is pleased to be collaborating with this group, which has rapidly established itself as a force within the cholangiocarcinoma arena. They're involved in a considerable number of work streams under their Cost Action project. And again, you'll be hearing more about this work, including their European Data Collection Registry later in the conference. But there is also a need to raise awareness in a more globally inclusive way. In 2015, AMMF initiated World Cholangiocarcinoma Day, and as that venture grew in influence, AMMF wanted to do more and make this globally meaningful. So in 2018, we invited leading specialists and patient advocates from around the world to an international workshop in London. And there, the Global Cholangiocarcinoma Alliance Initiative began with a shared vision to work with a nationally neutral but globally inclusive voice towards significantly increased global awareness and for progress in the diagnosis, treatment, and eventual cure of this most challenging of cancers. But importantly, we also need to encourage collaborative research. We need new insights into early and accurate diagnosis. We need to see the development of new and improved therapies. We need to understand what drives cholangiocarcinoma, and we need targeted therapies to act on those drivers. AMMF encourages and supports research nationally and internationally as much as we can. And during the conference, you'll be hearing about some of the work AMMF is currently supporting. So, 3 ways we can change the current situation. But no one organization can take on all these challenges alone. We need to work together. And if we do, we can and we will make a difference for all those with cholangiocarcinoma across the globe. Thank you, and I do hope you will enjoy AMMF's Cholangiocarcinoma conference.